What do I think of her?
Yes?
I don't think of her.
Whitney Houston never needed a shout to show pain. She simply withdrew her greeting, and the air around her went ice cold. In that small silence, the offender felt the full weight of her disappointment. In an industry sparkling with false glamour and paper-thin partnerships, Whitney guarded a secret list of 7 names. Each name belonged to someone who once left her feeling squeezed out of her own life. Mariah Carey stood on that list, forever paired with Whitney by every headline, yet never truly standing beside her in the hearts of many fans. Dionne Warwick, her own family, sat there too, proof that blood ties can still cut deep. 5 more names completed the role. All of them were hidden behind glittering gowns and perfect smiles, yet each name carried a wound. For Whitney, the sharpest blow came from words penned on paper, words never mailed to her, yet they burned like fire. In 1995, Madonna wrote a letter during a rough career patch. No one knows exactly how the note slipped into the world, but its cutting tone is impossible to forget. Madonna wrote that it was so frustrating to read that Whitney Houston has the music career I wish I had, and she is so mediocre. That single word, mediocre, strikes like a slap across any artist's face. Whitney was a global force who sold hundreds of millions of records with a voice soaked in soul, not just skill. Worse, Whitney had never attacked Madonna. She once praised Madonna's fearless style and control. Yet through the eyes of a white pop queen, Whitney's gospel-rooted sound and skin tone were deemed average. Middle-aged black women felt this insult on a deeper level. They had heard the same coded dismissals all their lives. Too loud, not polished, not wide enough in appeal. They watched Whitney dash through hoops the industry never asked the white peers. Even after singing the national anthem at the Super Bowl, winning armfuls of Grammys, starring in hit films, producing new voices, and earning praise from presidents, she was still asked to prove herself. Nothing hurts more than being loved by the planet, while quietly snubbed by your own field. Madonna did not need to yell. One sentence carved a scar. It spoke for every gatekeeper who whispers you do not deserve this. That pain lingers only in those who are forever judged by others. Whitney never named Madonna in public, yet tiny signs dripped out like water-shaping stone. In 1998, producers invited both singers to Divas Live. Madonna passed. Rumor then claimed Whitney preferred not sharing the spotlight. When a reporter later asked about Madonna, Whitney smiled thinly and said, "That's not my conversation." Then came silence. The hush told the whole story. It was not envy. It was exhaustion from endlessly proving her worth, while many white artists coasted. For viewers who have ever felt belittled or compared, Whitney's tale goes far beyond stardom. It is a lesson about the right to be valued, without fine print. Madonna may have dashed off that letter in anger or jealousy. For Whitney, it became a quiet sentence of judgment. Countless people know that very verdict. You are not worth what you have. Sometimes one cruel line can rattle even the strongest soul. Late in life, Whitney said, "I'm not what the media try to make me, I'm just a girl who sings." She was more than that. She was a legend, a beacon, and a living reminder of her era's battles. Stage lights once more blazed bright. Strings hummed like a chill wind stirring dusty memories. Backstage, Whitney pressed her lips tight while Mariah Carey finished their duet, "When You Believe." Mariah smiled wide, glancing at the crowd. Perfect timing, flawless notes, picture-pure perfection. Yet something still felt wrong in Whitney's chest. Not the song itself, but a familiar ache of someone gliding ahead as if she no longer mattered. The 1990s marked Whitney at her peak. She ruled charts, fused gospel, R&B, and pop, and carried the hidden cost of being the first black queen fully packaged by mainstream music money. Then came Mariah Carey with bright curls, stunning range, and the full backing of industry power player Tommy Mottola. Media hype painted it as a passing of the crown. Whitney kept smiling, congratulating, and holding her regal calm. Inside, she felt pushed aside. Papers called it the Battle of the Voices. For Whitney, this was about place, shaken confidence, and the pain of being compared like an outdated model. A journalist once asked her thoughts on Mariah. Whitney answered, "I don't think of her." 5 simple words, yet everyone understood. No need for screaming. Silence can drip with elegant disdain. Fans love rivalries. They turn Whitney and Mariah into opposite sides forced to clash. Behind the bright lights, a lesser-known truth lurked. Whitney had tried to be friendly. She disliked fights. B.B. Winans later shared that Whitney once reached out in greeting and Mariah turned away. Whether snub or shy youth, to Whitney it drove in like a thorn. Their duet in 1998 was sold as historic unity. Voices blended in golden harmony. Lyrics about faith soared. Yet if you watch Whitney's eyes, you saw miles between them. The gap was not musical. It was emotional, a space nobody dared to cross. Both women carried heavy baggage. Mariah grew up in a stormy household, never feeling fully accepted in white or black spaces. Whitney grew up in a famous gospel family, crushed under the need to be a spotless example. Each knew the hurt of public inspection. They could not comfort one another because an industry demanded they duel for a single seat reserved for a lone singer of color. Whitney did not hate. She simply never forgot. In a later chat, when asked to list other divas she admired, she named Aretha, Diana, Shaka. Mariah's name never came. Not proof of hatred, just a choice to leave that gap in place. For anyone who has felt replaced or told they are no longer first choice, Whitney's journey rings true. She was an icon asked to step aside before her song was done. A single cold stare can split a friendship like ice on a frozen lake. The other was Dolly, a mountain girl from Tennessee, where hardship blended into floral dresses and gentle lullabies. Dolly did not belt in soaring opera style, nor did she twist every syllable for effect. She wielded a different blade, a songwriter's pen, and a copyright. That quiet paper sword would pierce Whitney in the softest, most unseen way. It all centered on the song, I Will Always Love You. Whitney sent it into the stratosphere in 1992 for The Bodyguard. The trembling intro, the hurricane finale, the record-shattering sales, 45 million albums sold, and a new crown on Whitney's head. Yet far from the spotlights, a fat royalty check glided to Tennessee because the song belonged to Dolly Parton. Whitney never slammed Dolly in public, yet a bandmate recalled reporters asking, "Have you met Dolly Parton yet?" Whitney only curled her lip. She never came to say thank you to me. Dolly often praised Whitney in interviews, and even called the cover better than her own. Still, insiders whispered she never sent flowers, no letter, no direct phone call for years. One engineer remembered Whitney sitting in total silence when she learned that every penny of song profit headed to Dolly. The money itself was not the wound. Whitney felt like a chess piece moved in a spotless game she never joined. She sang from her soul, believing some part of that music belonged only to her. Contracts said otherwise. Dolly owned the map, and every treasure buried under it. Many fans protect Dolly, insisting she simply follow the law. Yet Whitney had watched the business tilt against her at every turn. So the pain went deeper than dollars. The entire planet hailed I Will Always Love You as Whitney's signature ballad. Still, every bank notice showed the name Dolly Rebecca Parton. Later, Dolly joked on a talk show, "I sat at home watching Whitney sing and thinking, yeah, girl, keep going. And I was counting my money." Laughter echoed in the studio. But no one heard Whitney's laughter, because that type of joke belongs only to those at the very top of the feast. Singers like Whitney were often the gourmet dish served to make others rich. People who pour heart and soul into work know that sting, giving everything only to discover you the tool that built another person's castle. The needle prick is so small you can hardly name it, yet it stabs pride every time the radio plays. Whitney never said, "I hate Dolly Parton." Still, among all who heard her, those who mocked, those who betrayed, those who stayed mute, Dolly unknowingly made Whitney feel like a branded product. A glorious product, yet still a product. In true fairy tale fashion, the brown-skinned princess left the stage first, while the Tennessee stronghold still stands, Dionne Warwick. Both women inhaled gospel like oxygen. Both found safety behind church walls. Dionne was the older cousin, the shining model Whitney admired. She studied Dionne's posture, her steady notes, her grace under bright lights. When early success found Whitney, Dionne cheered. During rough years, Dionne declared, "That girl is a fighter, she'll get through it." No bond looked stronger. Yet the tie snapped at Whitney's funeral on February 18, 2012. Cameras called it the royal farewell of black music. Aretha Franklin missed the service for her health, yet her name took the spotlight in a place it never should have. Dionne grabbed the microphone and said, "We all know Aretha was Whitney's godmother." One sentence cut like glass. On paper, Whitney never named Aretha as godmother. In her heart, that title belonged to someone else. In show business, such a label carries sacred weight. It signals trust, mentorship, a bond beyond contracts. Family members froze. Whitney could not correct it. Relatives remember the instant chill on her mother's face after Dionne spoke. No one quite knows why Dionne made the claim. Error, habit, or a final attempt to stitch her legacy into Whitney's story. Some insiders hint Dionne felt overshadowed when Whitney rocketed to superstardom. If envy existed, Whitney did not show it. She once said, "Dionne is my beloved relative. We don't need to prove our affection. It's in our blood." That is the tragedy. You trust kin not to wound you, so when they do, there is no safe corner to hide. Even after passing, Whitney's image twisted in public without her consent. No press release fixed the error. Instead, a long, ringing silence followed, louder than any speech. People who have been misrepresented or hurt by relatives understand that silence. A single wrong line can shatter trust forever. To them, Whitney was not only a fallen superstar. She was a woman who rose, stumbled, rose again, and even in death saw her story bent by someone who shared her DNA. VH1 divas lived, promised one glittering night of unity. Whitney Houston, Aretha Franklin, Mariah Carey, Gloria Estefan, Celine Dion, 5 blazing names on one stage. Thunderous drums, wild applause. Yet watch Whitney's eyes the moment Celine stepped into the spotlight. There was no fear, no jealousy, only a quiet armor lifting. Whitney had learned to walk on stage with an invisible shield, even on nights meant to celebrate queens like her. What happens when a single high note steals the breath from a room? Seal an asterisk soared through, "You make me feel like a natural woman." The hall froze in pure wonder, her voice so crystal clear it seemed to kiss the ceiling. Thunderous applause crashed seconds later. A critic whispered, "Tonight, it was Celine who truly soared above them all." A quiet line, easy to miss, yet pierced one listener. The singer forever compared whenever a white star entered the territory she carved first. Whitney stayed silent. She smiled, clapped on beat, but backstage she vanished into herself. Text later said, "She skipped coffee, no chatter, just stared at the floor like she wasn't sure she had done enough." No one was wrong that night. Celine shone brilliantly. Still, Whitney knew the unfair rule. When a white diva rises, a black trailblazer must push twice as hard just to stay level. For years, Whitney felt that burning weight. Fans cheered when her voice leapt with feeling, yet critics called it too emotional. When Celine delivered a cool, laser-sharp high note, they praised it as angelic. Skill was not the issue. Perception was. White singers were crowned pure icons, while singers of color faced invisible fences. Do not be too loud. Do not show raw pain. Do not be too much. Later, an aide recalled Whitney's words. "I respect them, but I know where I come from and what I fight for." That is why she chose silence. Speaking openly would mean exposing a truth the industry prefers to ignore. Older viewers, especially women, know that sting, being edged aside not for lack of talent, but because a fresher, lighter image arrives. Whitney sensed that razor line and stepped back with grace. Sometimes silence is the last shield a woman owns. Among every soul in Whitney's orbit, no bond cut deeper than the one with Robin Crawford. Robin never sought spotlights, trophies, or headlines. She was simply there, steady, patient, part of Whitney's heartbeat. They met as teens in East Orange. Whitney was nippy, a girl with a laugh like sunshine and a voice that flowed like breath. Robin became protector, calming panic, easing hard family moments, guiding her through dizzy fame. Yet fame changes gravity. Contracts, tours, and Bobby Brown slowly nudged Robin from Whitney's side to shadows, then to the edge. No angry words, just a growing space that hurt more than a shouted fight. In 2019, Robin released a song for You My Life with Whitney Houston, opening every locked door. Media hailed it as a long-hidden secret finally revealed. For Whitney's family, it felt like a door that should have stayed closed. Whitney had guarded that bond in a room no one could enter, not even Whitney herself. Robin's book turned their private world into public pages when Whitney could no longer answer. That gentle betrayal aches anyone who has loved in silence. When someone else tells your story, you lose the right to shape your own truth. April 9th, 2000, New York City, VH1 Divas Live Rehearsal. Lights blazing, cables everywhere, Whitney mastering each note. Off stage, Sharon Osbourne shared a casual laugh with Bobby Brown. Most people saw a harmless banter. Whitney saw a boundary snap. She strode over, voice low yet fierce. "You need to know your place. That's my husband you're laughing with like that." Sharon backed away at once, tension spilling through the crew. Whitney could not control headlines, critics, or Bobby's struggles, but she could defend her private circle. Women who have fought for shaky marriages understand. Sometimes you are not protecting the partner. You are protecting the sliver of dignity still yours to guard. Director friends notice a change. Quieter rehearsals, harder singing. Whitney seemed to prove something to herself with every powerful note. Sharon later joked, Whitney had claws, and she was right. Easy laughter for Sharon. Yet the moment etched another scar in Whitney's heart. Those claws came from hurt, not from spite. Whitney Houston left this world as she lived her last years, quietly, holding wounds she rarely named. People remember the soaring voice and glittering aura. Yet behind that shine stood a woman repeatedly compared, pushed aside, and betrayed by voices she once trusted. These stories are not about hate. They are the map of her scars, sorrows no chart-topping single could cure. Many of us hold a similar list. Moments of silence, lost credit, friendships rewritten by others. If this journey touched you, like, comment, and subscribe. We will keep exploring the hidden rooms behind the bright stage. Because sometimes the loudest truth lives in the final hush of a heart that once blazed like fire.